Sebring International Raceway and Porsche, a combination that have been hand in hand for well over 70 years. It's time for race 2 of the Porsche Carrera Cup North America for 2026, and it's presented by Solaris Aviation. Yesterday we had a dominant performance from young Tyler Maxson, but what will be the order of things today? Peter Mackay here up in the Global Broadcast Centre, just above the iconic start-finish line alongside Ryan Marine. We're right in the heart of Central Florida, and we're in the heartland of endurance racing here in the United States. If these 17 turns could talk, boy oh boy could they write a series of novels. Names like Fangio, Collier, Cunningham, Gurney all add to the prestige and the history. But there's overtaking opportunities aplenty. Into turn 7, down towards the hotel. You can make moves through there. Then really fast through the S's through 10, 11, 12, and then into the final corner, turn 17. How many times have we seen it come down to that corner to see who takes the checkered flag here at Sebring? One of the best venues anywhere on earth to go racing. As I mentioned yesterday, we had 40 minutes of racing. Let's talk through the highlights of what we saw. So it was Tyler Maxson who led away from the race crew pole position, and heading to turn 1 got a big jump, but Jared Thomas really quick at the start of the race, finding a little trick, you would think, with that brand new Porsche 911 Cup, and was in the fight, but it all got a little bit too frisky between Jana Stiak, a newcomer to the series, and Sabra Cook. And unfortunately for Sabra Cook, it was damaged suspension taking her out the race. But it was perfection for Tyler Maxson in his top racing machine, taking maximum points for the win, for fastest lap, and for pole position. The drivers are already on their way to the warm-up lap now behind the Pirelli P0 pace car. So let's quickly run through the grid then of how they roll off for the second race of the season, presented by Solaris Aviation. Tyler Maxson, a second pole of the year. I'll start alongside Aaron Johnson, a carbon copy of the front row from yesterday. Callum Hedge and Jared Thomas are row 2. Then it's Cole Clegg and Jana Stiak. Paul Bacchus and Sabra Cook are your 4th row, and JCD Dubets starts from 9th, with Marco Cirone, the winner in Masters yesterday, starts at the in the top 10. Fantastic from him. Nikita Lastishkin and Connor Bloom will be row 6. Then it's Patrick Mulcahy in Pro-Am, your Pro-Am pole sitter there. Then it's John Jourdain and Alan Metney. Scott Blind starts from 16th. Then it's Chris Palomo, Richard Edge, Rob Walker, Caden Kelly, James Sofrona, second in Pro-Am, starts from 21st. Then it's Alex Pratt, John Getz, Josh Conley, then Alan Scalzo, Brady Behrman, and Kevin Stadlander rounds out our 27-car grid here. Ryan Marine, yesterday it was all about Tyler Maxson. He was imperious.
Jared Thomas, as you mentioned during the highlights, kind of snookered everybody, grabbed the lead from the second row of the grid and controlled the first quarter or so of the race. Maxson, though, had the ultimate pace. That's been on display really all weekend long. Was able to muscle his way by, and once he was out in front, there was no catching him.
The weather conditions here at Sebring, it's Chamber of Commerce weather. Absolutely glorious. 77 degrees Fahrenheit in the air. Track temperature a little bit on the higher side than yesterday. It's just been warming up all the way to tomorrow's Mobile 1, 12 hours of Sebring. Just a light breeze in the air. It's glorious. Perfect conditions. If the drivers get too hot, they do have very nice icy air conditioning in these new 911 Cups.
And they've been talking about it in glowing terms. Haven't really needed it a whole lot, quite frankly, here this weekend. It has been quite cool. This is about as warm as it's been for one of these Carrera Cup North America sessions all weekend long. I'd suggest looking out the window, the breeze might be a little bit stronger than 2 miles per hour. It might just depend where you are on track, but that will be something for them to manage.
the field bunching up behind the Pirelli P0 pace car, a 992.2 GT3. Pirelli, the new tyre partner for 2026. The driver is really enjoying that new package, along with, of course, this brand new 911 Cup. The pace car will pull away, and we are honoured to welcome Richard Freeman, a retired US Army and Navy pilot, guest of Top Racing here. He will show us the green flag and will show Top Racing's very own Tyler Maxson the green flag. He had the perfect day yesterday. Can he continue that perfection here? 40 minutes on the clock, and we are green flag for race 2 of the Porsche Carrera Cup North America, presented by Solaris Aviation. Down to turn 1 they go, and Maxson having to go a little bit defensive. Better start this time from Aaron Johnson. He got attacked at the start yesterday by Jared Thomas, but manages to hold on to second position. And look out for Callum Hedge in the white and black race brew machine, but Jared Thomas in the third place car holds on. Meanwhile, Paul Bocuse trying to make moves forward there, as is Cole Clegg into turn 5, but just about they all make it through clean, Ryan.
Yeah, nip and tuck at the front of the field. Great stuff, though, from Maxson, controlling the race from the pole this time. Learned his lesson from yesterday. Thomas, again, aggressive at the start. Picks up 1 position. Not quite the same start he got yesterday, but still moving forward.
Tyler Maxson trying to generate a little bit more tire temperature and pressure. Sabre Cook in the Privé machine on at the outside there, and it's going to go right round the outside of the 71 machine that they're going up through the Fangio S's. That's Paul Bocuse. Superb stuff there from Sabre. She's been quick. She's been quick in every sector of the racetrack as Bocuse goes by again into Cunningham. So switching back and forth as the Masters leader, Marco Cironi, right there still in the 88 car. Superb.
Great for him yesterday. Got that win. It was his first in a handful of years. The savvy veteran who's experienced in these types of cars goes back even before the inception of Carrera Cup North America. He's been at this for a long time and showcasing his prowess behind the wheel.
Going through Jean de Bienne Bend, named after one of the drivers who won the first 12 hours of Sebring here in 1960 for a first win for Porsche, that is. Of course, the race has been going since 1952. Out of Le Mans curve they go for the first time, and down the Alec Ullman straight, heading towards Sunset Bend, and it's a perfect getaway from Tyler Maxson here. Although Johnson, he is determined to try and put the pressure on him. Didn't really get an understanding yesterday of how much pace he had in clean air, because Jared Thomas was so quick at the start and then brilliant in defensive action too.
Well, we talked about it yesterday. These two at the front of the field, they were rookie rivals a year ago, raced around each other quite frequently in their rookie campaign. Johnson came out on top in that duel last year, but here, early blood goes to Maxson.
Now we've got a car going slowly on at the exit. That's the number 40 car, Janis Stiak. Oh, no. He had a penalty yesterday for blocking, and something has gone wrong for Janis Stiak's number 40 machine. He's on the brakes. He's going to have to try and find a place to pull off. The Scooters Coffee car is not at the pace we normally see it, so the young Carrera Cup Germany star, Janis Stiak for ACI Motorsports, something not right there at all. Might well be returning back to pace, but we'll keep a watch on that. Johnson looks like he's getting closer to Maxson here as they come out of turn 7.
Yeah, certainly is inching that little bit closer. Good battles further back. Nikita Lastishkin involved in this. That's car number 3. And then JCD, John Capestro Dubets, right behind. That's a battle towards the back of the pro class. Both of them rookies here in Carrera Cup North America.
Johnson all over the back of Tyler Maxson here in that number 24 Racing for Children's car. Today I had the great privilege to meet Pauline, who's one of the honorary crew chiefs from Racing for Children. She's got her handprint and her signature on the car, and she says to Aaron Johnson, give it all. It's right there above the door handle saying, you go and give it your best, and that's exactly what he's doing. Of course, that car running to raise funds for the Racing for Children charity, and well, Aaron's doing it justice right now, really putting Maxson under more pressure than he experienced yesterday.
Maxson, you mentioned it yesterday, perfect day, Race Brew Pole Award. He also had the K1 Speed fastest lap of the race en route to the victory and seemed to have the field covered. However, conditions different, plus a night to go to work on the setups of these cars for all the teams. That was the first race they had ever done with this new generation 911 Cup car, so you would think that they would put that to use, that experience overnight, maybe make some tweaks, and it seems like the field has come back to Maxon slightly as Jean-Son starts to reel him in, and he's bringing Jared Thomas along with the fun.
We've definitely got higher track temperature today than we did in the race yesterday, so I wonder if that's maybe playing on the mind of some of these lead drivers, knowing that they've got to make the tyre go 40 minutes. But yesterday, we saw personal best lap times up to the very last lap, Ryan, which is a hugely positive thing for the teams with this new Pirelli tyre package, showing that it gives the performance even at the end of the race in a track that's very heavy on tyre wear.
It's a departure from how these races have been run in previous years. We talked about it in qualifying as well. The fact that in previous years, problems for the 67, that car.
57 of John Getz for Kelly Moss.
Oh, that's 2 days in a row for John.
Now is this going to, hopefully not going to bring out the Pirelli P0 pace car, as pretty as it is? We don't want to see it. We want to keep racing, and John Getz has been able to get going in that all GT silver machine. So in the classes, we have 3 classes. We have the Mobile Pro class, we have the Solaris Aviation Pro-Am class, and the Solaris Aviation Masters class. Orange accents for the Pro, green accents for Pro-Am, and yellow accents for Masters. In Pro-Am at the moment, it's Patrick Mulcahy who leads by 3.9 seconds from James Sofronis. Then it's Marco Cironi who leads by 2.9 seconds from Scott Blend, who seems to be having a much better day of things today.
He got a tough start, kind of got used up a little bit in race 1 yesterday, and we speculated off air maybe that affected the car. Meanwhile, moments ago, down into the hairpin, hip and shoulder there.
Alan Metney goes through in the 99 car, making some moves forward. He's got on the back of the car, there's a kind of ducktail spoiler, which is still in its, it hasn't been wrapped in, it's still in its original colour because it had to get replaced earlier in the week. But Alan's got form for that before. When he first started racing, made a few mistakes and actually wanted to keep his car in its sort of slightly rough and ready form, but had to make sure it was prepared by series regulations. And he actually got a wrap to show the dents, to show that he was earning his stripes, but he's long past that. One of the most successful drivers in the history of this series. Maxon's still under pressure from Johnson, but if I was to say it, I think they're creating a little bit of a 2-car breakaway here away from Jared Thomas in third.
They are, and it's because both of these drivers just did their best lap of the race the last time through. A 2:02.9 in the case of Max and a 2:03 flat for Jean-Son, separated by less than 1/10 of a second, but considerably quicker than the next two that were running in the 2:03.7 and 2:03.5 bracket. They seem to be the class of the field here in the early stages. Maxon and Jean-Son, who I think if you were going to try and make betting odds coming into the season, you would have tabbed as your championship co-favorites, given the way they were nip and tuck a year ago and are the highest returning drivers from the pro class last year.
The progression they've made in 12 months is remarkable. They came here 12 months ago as total rookies to Porsche Carrera Cup North America, and they had to serve their apprenticeships. And by the second half of the season, arguably they were the 2 strongest drivers, and they gave us some really thrilling battles, particularly Road Atlanta, where they were really playing for keeps. But they've now come in with a new car, new tyre package, and the class has carried over as Maxon, cutting a lot of the curb there as well. Again, put under pressure here by Aaron Johnson. But you know who's quickest of anyone in the field through Sector 1 right now? If anyone in this race, Sebring Cook in 7th place. And that turn 1, that is all about high-speed commitment. She's the bravest of them all so far in this race in that Privé car, the white car, which is still got sight of the leaders. Next up for her, number 71, Paul Bocuse in 6th place.
Well, she is super confident in the team behind her. JDX Racing, back with JDX for the 2nd straight year. First time in her Carrera Cup career that she has been reunited with the team that she drove for in the previous season, and just feels like that's going to be a massive boost for her chances.
Jared Thomas into the pits from 3rd position. This is huge. Jared Thomas, after such a good result, his first ever Porsche Carrera Cup North America podium yesterday, and he's in the pits. What has gone wrong for Jared Thomas? I don't believe it. Is it a puncture?
Must be, right rear. Team going to work to change that Pirelli P0, and it's just the 1/4 of the car they're taking a look at.
There have been several instances in various championships competing today where we've seen damaged tyres on the loaded side, on the left-hand side. Frustrated Jared Thomas, rips out the pit lane, but he's still in the game though. That's the main thing. That could have been worse. If that had popped and had to limp the car back, he might well have not been able to finish, but now he can get back going. And you never know, if we see the Pirelli P0 pace car, that'll make his job of catching up a lot easier. But that's such a shame for Jared Thomas, and that of course promotes Callum Hedge, the newcomer, up into third.
Well, how about that? He's one of 2 drivers in the field that have won Carrera Cup championships elsewhere in the world coming in to this season, at least in the pro class. Hedge is an Australian champion a couple of years ago, and Stiak, who had the issue earlier, and looks like he's back on the pace, or at least something close to it now, but is at the very back of the field overall. He's a former Carrera Cup Middle East champion. Those 2 really interesting cases, couple of rookies that bring different levels of experience to this here in 2026, and I think both are likely to be contenders for race wins before the end of the season.
Johnson getting closer, 0.2 of a second quicker in the middle sector alone, trying to put Tyler Maxson under the bind. But these drivers at the front, they are so close in time. In the race yesterday, get this folks, 0.03 of a second separated the top 3 drivers through sector 2 alone. That is how tight it is. So to get close enough to then make the move on the brakes is very, very difficult. And these cars have got an ever so slightly better braking performance than the previous model, which of course shortens the braking zone. So that makes setting up a move that little bit harder. But Johnson, if there's a move to be made, he'll go for it.
New K1 speed, fastest lap of the race, and it goes the way of Aaron Johnson, 2:02.8. Maxson's done a 2:02.9. No one else has been able to get below a 2:03.1. So again, to illustrate the point, as if it weren't self-evident, just looking at the gap that they've built, these 2 appear to be the class of the field here in the second race.
But sector 1, nobody can touch Sabre Cook.
True.
She is the reference point in that first part of the racetrack, but it's Tyler Maxson with his mirrors full of the Racing for Children's Kelly Moss number 24 car. A car that's loomed in the mirrors and indeed out the front windshield of many a car over the years in this series.
I did misspeak because Jared Thomas, he just wasn't up at the top of timing and scoring because of his pit stop, but he also has done a high 2:02. That almost makes it more frustrating, right? You know you had a fast car, a car capable of at the very least contending for a podium, if not more, and yet he finds himself buried all the way down in 26th, last car on the lead lap.
In the Solaris Aviation Masters category, Marco Cironi is now getting closed down a little bit by last year's champion, Scott Blind, who hasn't had his best race week, it has to be said. It's not been the usual domination we've seen from Scott in previous, certainly last year, but this year hasn't quite got off to the best start, but he could put that all right here in the second race.
Well, that's what he'll be thinking about, putting the disappointment of yesterday behind him as best as he can. This is Cironi coming through in the 88. He's got that lead, but yeah, Blind is making some headway. In fact, I think you could see Blind's car at the end of this 4-car train. Cironi will come through first for ACI Motorsports. Then it's a couple of cars from different classes, John Joe Twain, and then the Pro-Am leader, Patrick Mulcahy. But right behind Mulcahy, that's where you'll find Blind, and he's getting closer by the lap.
So there's actually not much time between them, but very significantly 2 rear gunners for Marco Cironi.
That's right.
Of course, there's no allegiances at all, but that is going to make Marco Cironi feel a lot, certainly less panicked anyway.
You say that, but Mulcahy is out of the ACI stable. So, maybe there is a thought that he could play tail gunner a little bit, but I suspect that they're focused in on what they're trying to accomplish here and not trying to play any of those games. But there's a look at the brightly colored Ruckus Racing branded entry. It's Archangel Motorsports, Mike Johnson's operation out of St. Louis, that runs this. And actually, Blind right now has his hands full. Right behind him is Rob Walker. That is for position, by the way. 2 of the more distinctive liveries in the field.
Herbie the Love Bug, number 53. They are for Rob Walker for JTR Motorsports Engineering. Now the lap record holder in the Masters category too.
Well, I asked Rob one time, why do you run the Herbie the Love Bug livery? And he said, I wanted something that was non-threatening and it would lure the competition into a false sense of security. And I was thinking to myself, I've seen those films and Herbie's diabolical. I'd be pretty nervous if I had Herbie breathing down my neck.
Herbie will chuck a bit of oil out in front
That's
of
right.
you. Yeah, he is
Stop
faster than a Porsche 917 though. And Herbie goes to Monte Carlo. So
there's that.
It's a quick paint scheme, that's for sure. Yeah, Rob's had a good weekend. Really good weekend, actually. So good start to his championship campaign. Great to see him back for another year. But we saw this yesterday in the Solaris Masters class where cars from other classes in the field mixed up the order a little bit, and that had an effect on the outcome. Richard Edge was running really well and got a little bit muddled up with another class car, and that allowed Ricciarone to come through and take the win. 25 minutes left on the clock, so only 15 minutes down. Tyler Maxson leads by now 0.8 of a second. He's just put in the K1 speed fastest lap. We got that yesterday, 2:02.4. Plays a 2:02.7. That's this combination of this new 911 Cup and the new Pirelli tyre package. The drivers are loving it, and we've had a quick week in a lot of the classes here at Sebring, and the lap times have been amazing.
They have, and the weather has played a part in it. And you know, with a championship like this where so much is new car, new tire, plus the weather is out of the ordinary, it's hard to put a finger on exactly where the lap time is coming from, but we've seen enough different series and enough different classes set track records here this weekend that, you know, you have to believe the weather has a part to play, but it can't be the whole thing. And what we have learned, certainly, is these tires hold on really, really well, and even late in the race, you can still turn in the K1 speed fastest lap. There's enough tire life still there as the fuel burns off that you have that opportunity to be quick even late in the stint.
These last 3 laps have been where Tyler Maxson has just started to turn the screw. I mean, the last lap alone, 0.3 of a second, which in certain championships wouldn't be that big, but that is quite a big margin in this type of racing where because everybody starts with the same package, you're looking for the most minute details in every part of the lap.
Jean-Son's answering back, though. He just did the best middle sector of anyone, chasing Maxson here. Both of them did their best first sector on this lap, and it does seem like Jean-Son is inching a little bit closer once again. The stopwatch will tell us when they come around to complete yet another lap, but Maxson still has the edge and certainly is more comfortable than he's been in some time. Jean-Son finds about 1/10 of a second, but no more.
1/10 of a second a lap, though, would bring him closer towards the end. Maybe playing the long game, potentially, but Maxson has had the edge through practice and, of course, setting that race through pole position earlier in race week. Of course, new aero package for this Porsche 911 Cup. Probably one of the biggest changes for the car. More grip on the front, more mechanical grip as well, and a little bit more power from the engine. But we don't know yet really how the cars are going to race, because when you change the aerodynamics, that, of course, it's not just how the car performs on its own, it's how it performs when there's other cars around it in close quarters.
Well, there was a lot of optimism coming into the weekend that a little more front-end downforce would help the cars run close together in traffic, and I think we saw that borne out to a large degree, especially early in the race. In race number 1, and here in race 2, again, you know, these cars are running in pretty close proximity. Jean-Son was able to do his best lap moments ago, running in traffic, and continues to put in good sector times here. So it does seem like there has been a positive change there, and it's worth reiterating. Everyone who drove the old car loved it, but they are effusive with how much they love this upgrade. It has made a huge difference. Porsche just continuing to up the ante.
Yeah, we're now into the 10th generation of Porsche Carrera Cup machine. When Carrera Cup racing first started in Germany in 1990, then the International Mobil 1 Super Cup coming in 1993. At heritage all around, but always the Carrera Cup, at least, always born from the 911. Of course, we did have Porsche Cup racing in Canada with the 944 in the 80s too. So Porsche single mate racing goes back a very, very long way, and this is the latest iteration of it. And it's the flexibility of the package as well, of what you can do with this car. You can take it 24-hour racing, you can do sprint racing with it, I've even seen there's a company in Belgium that makes these cars into rally cars. So the package is incredibly versatile. Now, that's another lap in the favour back of Johnson. So we had 3 laps in the favour of Max, and now Johnson's starting to come back again. He's taken just over a tenth and a bit. The gap's now down to just over 0.6 of a second.
Yep, found just over a tenth on that last lap, inching closer. That's a great look for those watching the pictures of how that gap has changed over the last handful of laps through the various sectors. Johnson certainly not going to make this easy on Tyler Maxson. Once again, closing in, this time through turn 7. Maxson, though, just soaking up that pressure. He looks completely untroubled by the fact that he has Johnson hounding him.
That's a great way to put it. Unruffled is Maxson, despite seeing that Kelly Moss number 24 machine looming large in the mirror. You're watching and listening to the second round of the Porsche Carrera Cup North America. If you're watching on IMSA TV on YouTube, welcome. Also on IMSA Radio on RS2, part of the Radio Show Limited network of channels. A big season ahead, a tour around North America's greatest racetracks, including some trips to the Formula One World Championship, where the Porsche Carrera Cup North America for several years now has been part of the support package on rounds like Miami, Montreal, COTA, etc. And same again, we're going to go to some of these places this year.
And I think Long Beach is a really exciting addition or return to the calendar. It's been a few years, but to be a part of an event like that, which features, of course, the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, but also IndyCar, so many other great support series. It's one of the great celebrations of motoring culture in North America. The racing is fantastic as well, but the car culture that's on display in Long Beach is second to none in my experience. I absolutely adore making that trip each and every year and can't wait to see these cars return to the battle on the beach.
I think one driver who's enjoying this new Porsche Line 11 Cup more than any other is Patrick Mulcahy, who's leading Pro-Am by 10 seconds. He completely dominated yesterday, and you think of the progression. Finished third in the championship last year, had 6 podiums, 1 win in Miami. But this is an improvement. This is a step up for Patrick Mulcahy, sitting in 13th overall, right behind Marco Cironi, the leader in the Masters class.
Patrick's not been at this very long. He's been a race fan since his youth, owned a Porsche and took it out to the Porsche Experience Center out in LA. There was an owner's night that was available. It was a chance for him to let his street car stretch its legs a little bit in the hook. Well, it was pretty properly set at that point. He did a little bit of Boxster racing before going to the Cup car. Didn't take him long to make that step. We've seen him a little bit in GT3 racing. He actually ran at Long Beach in the SRO event a couple of years ago. I have to say, it was kind of a frustrating weekend. Race 1, I don't believe he even got to take the start, but still, what a great experience, and loved it, and saw this as a logical next step for him in his career. Admittedly, would love to see a few more people to race against in the Pro-Am class. It's the smallest class in the field, the Solaris Pro-Am class, but his focus is, where am I stacking up in the overall order? And if you have a good run in the overall, then the class will take care of itself.
It's a good point. Yeah, I mean, look at Alan Metney, 9th overall, multiple champion in Pro-Am with Kelly Moss, and holds pretty much every record there is to have in his class, and has decided he could actually be eligible for the Solaris Masters class because of his age, but he wants to mix it with the pros, and he is 9th overall right now for Alan Metney, ahead of many of the pro drivers.
And Patrick told me, actually, that Alan is his inspiration. That's kind of the model he would like to follow, where you can get to the point experience-wise where you can start mixing it up even with the top class, and ultimately, in the case of Alan, actually make the choice to bump yourself up a couple of classes. We haven't really talked about it, but the way that they're delineated, it all comes down to age. And to your point, Alan's at the age threshold where he could run in the Solaris Masters class, but chooses to run in Mobile Pro instead.
Power move from Rob Walker, and it's the Herbie the Lovebug thing. Right behind Scott Blind in the Ruckus Racing car, thinking, it's only Herbie. What's he done? He's moved by at Sunset Bend and moves up into second in the Solaris Masters category.
And that's another car out of the Jared Thomas Race Engineering stable. Jared himself had the puncture, we assume. There was the left rear tire change that happened very much unplanned, and Jared's unfortunately back in 23rd. He's got a fast car, we've seen that, but won't get the result it would appear to show for it. But Rob, you mentioned it earlier, he's been really fast this weekend, had a podium result yesterday, putting a really nice race together. And if you can pass Scott Blend in a single make championship, you've done something well. Scott won 4 championships in Porsche single make racing last year.
And this is not to take anything away from Rob at all. It's impressive what he's doing, but also it's a great advert for JTR. And for Jared Thomas, the owner, who was running up the sharp end, finished on the podium yesterday, he's now having to recover after that puncture. For him, it's about appealing to other drivers to say, come to my stable. We run a good car. We know how to set the car up. And that's effectively, if you've got a fast driver at the front, that's an advert to the rest of the field to say, come and drive with us. Johnson getting closer here. It was last time by 0.568 of a second, and it looks visibly closer as they come across the line. It's now going to be, is waiting for our timing screen to quickly adapt. It's 0.569. It's almost like it's 1,000th of a second between them on that lap.
And behind them, the battle for third is getting really tight as well. Cole Kleck has just run a couple laps down in the 202s. The most recent one wasn't. It was up in the low 203s, but he did a 202.7 a couple of laps ago, and that's allowed him to run down Callum Hedge. This is really cool to see for Cole, as Hedge has a big twitch, maybe 2 of them. Great job to save it, but he's lost a lot of momentum, Peter, and here comes the reigning Sprint Challenge 992 Pro-Am champ.
Through Gurney Bend and down to turn 7, and Callum Hedge in the number 9 race brew car goes defensive on the inside there, hard on the brakes, and Cole Kleck has a little tap into the rear of them there as they come through Fangio's chicane. Maybe set up a move into Cunningham, but Hedge will be aware of it, you can be sure of that. He goes to the defensive line saying, you're going to have to go the long way around, my friend. And Hedge hangs on for now, but Kleck has got a real head of steam. Oh my word, I thought he was going to go for it in front of all the fans partying at Green Park.
Now there was, for a brief moment, what looked like a 911 Cup car-sized gap, but it closed quickly. Callum Hedge did not want to leave that space open, and Cole Kleck wisely determined this was a low percentage move and backed out of it. What a season he had, though, last year, winning that championship in Sprint Challenge. We talk about the Porsche pyramid of motorsports, and you start at the Porsche Club level, up to Sprint Challenge, graduating then to Carrera Cup, and from there you go into multi-manufacturer racing, GT3, GT4, all the way up to prototypes and even Formula E at the tip of the pyramid with the prototypes in the Formula E car. But this is another example of a driver that's using that pyramid to help develop his career, starting in Sprint Challenge and now making that next step and immediately making an impact.
So the gap hovering around half a second at the front of the field, but it is even closer for the fight for this last spot on the podium. But Maxon responds a little bit, taking a 1/10 of a second out of Johnson on that previous lap. We're talking such minute margins here in this class, but we're still seeing personal best sectors and lap times coming up on the timing screen. We've got over 90 degrees Fahrenheit track temperature, and we've been racing for nearly 28 minutes. This Pirelli tyre, the guys at Pirelli have got to be really pleased of how it's performing, to keep giving that performance time after time.
You know, it just occurred to me, I think these two have raced against each other before. Cole Kleck did a partial Formula Regional Americas season back in 23. Callum Hedge won that championship. So oddly enough, I think they found each other once again, and now they're doing battle in Carrera Cup North America.
So Cole Kleck metaphorically tapping on the shoulder of Callum Hedge and saying, remember me, I haven't gone anywhere. Let's have another dice. Now, of course, totally remodeled new steering wheel on this 911 Cup, and most of the drivers appear to have found where the headlight flash button is. Can you be a Carrera Cup driver without flashing the headlights? I don't think you can.
They take your license away if you don't use it enough.
Yeah, clearly.
Whoa!
Oh, massive slide there coming out of Tower for Cole Kleck, showing just how hard he is pushing. Now, coming out of Tower Bend in one of these cars, that's 80 miles an hour. Imagine that. You know, if you're on the Autobahn in Germany, 80 miles an hour.
Do I have to imagine that?
There you go. And he must have been full opposite lock there, but beautiful car control from young Cole Kleck. Wow.
Well, we were wondering, At a certain point, does the tire life start to go away? They've been pushing hard now for the better part of 30 minutes and maybe finally asking a little bit more than the Pirellis are willing to give. And I should add, a little bit of tire wear, tire drop-off is a great thing for racing. It's a great preparation as well for whatever comes next for these drivers. So that's not a negative, but adapting to this tire as it adapts, as it evolves over the course of a stint, that's part of the learning curve for some of these young drivers that are relatively new to this type of racing.
Well, these drivers, they've got their eyes on the factory level. They want to follow in the footsteps of a Luke Hartog, of a Seb Prio, of a Parker Thompson to make their way through this style of racing into the factory GT3 level. As Alan Metney in the 99 goes up the inside of the number 7 car of JCD Dubets. Oh, big contact there coming out the bumpy exit of turn 1, and Metney takes the position there, but in a firm fashion there. And we saw this yesterday when two cars collided together, Sabre Cook and Janis Stiak. It damaged Sabre Cook's machine, so I wonder if both of those cars have got away. They appear to, so that is Metney hanging on to 9th position and JCD Dubets in 10th for now.
Well, JCD, a feisty competitor. He won't take that lying down. If he's got the chance to get back there, you know that he will. But it's also worth noting these are two cars in different classes. That's actually they're not. I take that back, because as we've talked about, Metney has chosen to run in the pro class. Whoa! I think the good news for JCD is the wheel was pretty straight. We saw similar contact yesterday cause a problem for Sabre Cook, and maybe this time JCD got away with it.
I think so. To be fair to Alan Metney, I think he felt he'd left the car's width. It was maybe 80% of the car's width, if we were being really fair, but he did leave some racing room. He didn't run him all the way out onto the grass. So yeah, this is why I would never want to work in race control. The job they do is so impressive, to be able to judge all of these different back and forth incidents. Of course, an ode to the iconic pink pig colours on JCD Dubet's car. It's more of an orange than the pink, but the chops are all marked out on that car, harking back to the Porsche 91720 that raced at Le Mans in 1971.
Well, JCD grew up in Carmel, California, just a stone's throw away from Laguna Seca, and he once told me the story that his dad, he had a kind of a split childhood between different households. His dad used to let him skip school to go out to Laguna Seca to watch race cars, and as it turned out, a prudent choice, because he's turned into a really solid race car driver. He's a former champion in SRO's GT4 America Silver class. That was just a couple of years ago.
He's also sponsored by a golf course, so that's, I mean, does it get better than that? Really, not for me anyway.
No.
Maxon's pulling away here now. Although John Son has just put in his best lap of the race, just over those last couple of laps, Maxon's just been able to turn the screw a little bit. There's only 8 minutes left on the clock. Can Jean Son find anything to take Maxon's win away here? A double for Maxon it would be if he can hang on. At the moment, Tyler Maxon in line for the extra bonus point for the K1 Speed fastest lap. So if he was to hang on to that, he would leave Sebring with the maximum total points.
Well, that's the dream, to kick off a championship bid. As I mentioned, though, John Capestro Dubet's not willing to let this one go. He is closed back in on Alan Metney, and now we're going to see if they can duke this one out. But you can see the rear start to give way there for JCD as well. If we've seen a trend, I guess, so far in this race, it's the back end stepping out as we get deeper and deeper into the stint.
Looked like the front washed away on him a little bit coming into Cunningham Corner. They're not the first driver to experience that issue today across the various classes. It's been a beautiful sunny day here at Sebring, to the Fast Friday before the big race, the Mobil 1, 12 hours of Sebring tomorrow.
Back to the longevity of these Pirellis. Last time by, Aaron Johnson set his best lap of the race, a 2:02.6. He just came by and did a 2:02.8, closed in a little bit more, as it turns out, on Tyler Maxon, now 0.8 of a second back. But we're seeing fastest sector times, fastest lap times coming in with frequency, and we're inside of 7 minutes to go.
Everyone's still pushing maximum, because you get that bonus point for the K1 Speed fastest lap in every class. Yesterday, Rob Walker got it in Masters. In fact, he was the only driver in the classes who didn't take the whole lot in the Mobile Pro class and the Solaris Pro-Am class. Both Patrick Mulcahy and Tyler Maxson, they swept the board. Pole, win, fastest lap, and you get the bonus points for that, which, considering how close the championship got last year between Riley Dickinson and Ryan Yardley, those fastest lap and qualifying points are critical.
Oh, you can't just write them off. You have to think about that and factor that into your championship bid, because we have seen titles decided by a point here or a point there. Speaking of points, the point I was thinking about earlier, these two drivers at the front, two drivers from the deep south, Tyler Maxson from Georgia, Aaron Johnson from Louisiana. In decades past, they probably would have been stock car drivers. They would have gone NASCAR racing. Instead, they end up in road racing, and we are the richer for it. Such talent. And in Maxson's case, he's been able to demonstrate that from a young age. Johnson's really had to scrap at this and had a couple helping hands along the way, including from a friend and colleague of ours, Jeremy Shaw, with the Team USA Scholarship. And this is maybe the most high-profile opportunity he's been able to garner.
And that support hasn't stopped. I know that Aaron and Jeremy have a really close relationship and speak regularly. And Jeremy, a racer himself and very, very experienced, both on and off the track. And for Maxson, he was kind of a karting prodigy when he was younger. Won a touring car series here in North America when he was only 15 years old. So yeah, two very different approaches, but so evenly matched on the track. I mean, last time by, 35 thousandths of a second separate the top racing machine of Tyler Maxson and the Kelly Moss car of Aaron Johnson. The gap is coming back down again, it's around the 3/4 of a second, but it seems to me, Ryan, that Johnson just can't quite get close enough to even think about setting up a move. It just seems to be that, can you follow closely enough? Hard to say.
Well, I think he's close enough that a mistake would be crucial, right? That could present the opportunity, but it might take something like that. Give Maxson credit. He's knocking out great lap times here late in the race as well. He's not presenting any opportunities. He's managing that gap beautifully, to your point. It's not like Johnson's even in a place that he could contemplate a low percentage lunge. There's just no move on the table. Maxson's doing what he needs to do to cover off any eventuality. It just needs to do it for 4 more minutes.
And that kind of thing would never, it's not Aaron Johnson's style. He's a
Sure.
very clean driver. Oh dear, Chris Palomo off the road in the number 68 Akumatica car, prepared by Kelly Moss. Now, where on the racetrack is that? That is turn 4?
I think you're right. Had been 4th in class at the time. That's in the Solaris Masters class. I think we've got to look at what happened to Chris.
It was side by side with Scott Blinn going into Christensen corner at turn 3. They both went long, and then did Palomo get a help from another car? But I'm hard to say there, but Palomo, a little bit of a rough and tumble weekend for him, unfortunately.
Yeah, it is. It comes to the benefit, though, of Caden Kelly, unless he was involved in that as well. But Caden would shift up a position, and it's good that Caden was able to do this race. He didn't start yesterday feeling a little under the weather.
So side by side, bit of almost a lock up there for Palomo. Blind has to go straight on, and then Caden Kelly comes through. But was there contact? Caden Kelly has to get on the brakes, and I think Caden Kelly got into the back then and helped Palomo around.
He might have been spinning already, though.
Possibly,
yeah.
Yes, quite possibly. Of course, these cars do have traction control fitted, but it cannot be operational. It has to be fitted to the 0 setting. That means off. 11 different settings if you want it, but not allowed in this championship. ABS is allowed, and that can be moved on the fly with the dial on the steering wheel. 2.5 minutes to go then. Tyler Maxson leads the motor race down into turn 7, but was by 3/4 of a second. But I think Johnson's getting closer here. They were identical through sector 1, through that short sector, but in the middle part, where Johnson's been strong in this race, actually Jared Thomas has been the driver strongest through there, but Johnson getting closer.
To put a bow, though, on that Masters discussion, that cost Blind dearly. He lost 5 spots there. Richard Edge is up to 4th, and Kelly now actually sits on the podium as they run in 3rd place. No word as to whether or not that's been looked at by race control. For the moment, we race on.
Johnson, I think, as close as he's been for several laps now as they go through Jean de Bienne Bend, over the curbs at the S's, heading towards Le Mans curve. Maxon running just a little bit wide now, out towards Le Mans Curve onto the Almond Straight, and 0.3 of a second in the favour of Johnson so far on this lap. He's right underneath the rear wing now, trying to get any kind of slither of slipstream he can get. Can he set up a move here? It will be the white flag shown when they reach the stripe, signalling 1 lap to go as they go into the incredibly bumpy Sunset Bend. Can Johnson get close enough to pinch the victory away from Maxon, or is it going to be double delight for the number 77 top racing driver? White flag.
Shadows growing long, the sun's starting to set. Johnson flashes the headlights, but he has over half a second to try and overcome. Maxon nice and tidy through turn 1, up and over the bumps, and continuing on with a big advantage here. Johnson trying to close down that gap.
Into Christensen corner then for the final time. Tyler Maxon has been, no other word for it, perfect. Since they rolled out the truck, quick in practice, put it on pole, drove away from the field yesterday. But Aaron Johnson, that would have hurt yesterday, seeing Maxon disappear 6-7 seconds up the road. This has been a really strong performance from the man from Louisiana.
Who was it who told you the best way to set your car up for the race was to be the Race Brew Pole Award winner?
Riley Dickinson,
yeah, he would know
champion.
Knows what he's talking about. That's proven true. Maxon had to fight for it yesterday, it's worth noting. Didn't lead the whole race. He lost the lead to Jared Thomas for a decent chunk in the first half of the race, but once he got to the point, he was really untroubled. This time, he has led since the drop of the green, but it has not been untroubled. Johnson's been hounding him from the very beginning, but just running out of time.
Well, in the first sector, Maxon put in his best time in the first sector on the last lap. So he knows he's under pressure, but Johnson is getting close now as they come into the S's through those fast left-handers, but just through those fast corners. Seems that Maxon's just got a slight edge in the fast corners. It's minimal, but we're talking minimal gains here as Maxon tries to get the best possible drive out of Le Mans Curve and on the gas, then opening up well over 500 horsepower from that flat 6. But Johnson trying to get the slipstream, but I just don't know if he's going to get close enough for it to be enough. In towards Sunset Bend for the first time, braking from 155 miles an hour, bounding over the bumps. But it looks like for Tyler Maxon and for Top Racing, it is delight here in the sunshine at Sebring. Maxon wins again. Johnson right behind him in second. I feel we're going to see these two, Ryan Marine, fight back and forth all season long.
It's a great appetizer for the season to come. Got a good battle still underway for third place. Callum Hedge and Cole Kleck, they've been duking it out for a little while. Looks like across the line, Hedge was able to hang on ahead of Kleck. Paul Bocuse, a top 5 finish here in race 2.
Callum Hedge, newcomer to the series, straight on the podium of the first weekend. I think that is a success for them. In the Solaris Masters category, Marco Cirone looks like he's going to take double delight from Sebring as well, with the Canadian flag on the B pillar there. Up he goes to the checkered flag. It's another win for Cirone, with Patrick Mulcahy also taking the win in the Solaris Pro-Am category.
Now, well driven by Cirone. Had to wait about 3 years between wins the last time. He had to wait maybe 24 hours this time. That's a much more palatable wait, I'm sure.
Definitely, that juice head car has been hooked up all race week. And that must just be the best feeling in the world. Getting back to your crew, everyone's excited for you. You put the car in the trailer, you go to the airport and you think, that was just the dream scenario. It couldn't have gone better. Sport is difficult. It doesn't happen that way every weekend. It won't happen that way every weekend. Now, we're getting a note on our race control screen. Incident involving car number 9, that is Callum Hedge, and number 78, that is Cole Kleck. Under review now, they finished 3rd and 4th, fairly close together. What is the story there, I wonder?
They did not change positions, so you wonder about maybe blocking potentially, but that's purely speculative. All we know is that they're being looked at, and if we get the adjudication before we sign off, we'll pass that along.
That we will, yes. So number 77, Tyler Maxon, all season last year, he had 2 wins, which is very impressive in a rookie season in this style of racing. He's already got 2 on the board in this first weekend here at Sebring International Raceway. What a job from that young man. but a young man with a lot of experience behind him. The perfect start to the season. Tyler Maxson then takes the win, but not 6 seconds, only 6/10 of a second from Aaron Johnson for Kelly Moss. Callum Hedge getting that first podium in his debut season on the very first weekend. Pretty good for that. Cole Clegg and Paul Bocuse round out the top 5. And what a return for Sebring. That is really impressive for the driver of the number 37 Privet JDX car, bouncing back from the disappointment of yesterday. And what about Alan Metney? 9th place. Also, big improvement for Nikita Lastuskin. 8th place in his first weekend in Porsche Carrera Cup North America Racing. Looking to the Masters category, it was Marco Cirone taking the win and 12th overall there for him. He'll be very pleased with that. So the bumps of Sebring have been very, very kind indeed to Tyler Maxson. He has mastered them in that top racing machine. And for that crew, winning the first team's championship last year, winning the drivers' championship with Ryan Yardley, unknown whether they carry that momentum into the season, Ryan Marine, they've done it.
Any concerns have been put to bed in comprehensive fashion. Great performance from Tyler, great performance from the whole team. This is one they can celebrate until they have to turn up at the next race in Long Beach.
Tyler Maxson, big hugs from the team. 2 wins in the bag here at Sebring, and he'll be looking ahead to the very next round to prepare and get ready, because although he's got the 2 wins here, he's going to be under the cosh. Long Beach we go to next. The streets of Long Beach, one of my favorite tracks in the world, I have to admit. Miami Autodrome for Formula One, the iconic Watkins Glen International in June. And then we just continue all the way through the year. Road America, Indy, Road Atlanta, Circuit of the Americas. These drivers have got an amazing season ahead of them. Tyler Maxson, will he carry his Sebring form forward? Well, I wouldn't write it off.
No, that sends a message to the rest of the paddock. Early championship leader, but Johnson, we know he's going to be in the mix. Hedge, we've seen a lot out of him in his debut season. Clegg and Bocuse, they'll only get better as they start to gain experience, and on and on and on. Wide open field still, I think, after 2 races. That's what we thought coming in. Leaves me even more excited about what's to come.
Big smiles for Tyler Maxson. Then the first weekend for Porsche Carrera Cup North America on Pirelli rubber, and lap times have tumbled, lap records have fallen, but it's a maximum score for the top racing driver. And of course for Marco Cirone and Patrick Mulcahy, they also leave with a big haul of points heading to Long Beach when we go out west. But from us all here, we'll join you next time. Thanks for watching.